Welcome to the Impossible Conversation. I'm your host, Sukhee, and my goal is to introduce you to the ordinary people that are doing extraordinary things, inspiring you and me and others follow our dreams. Dalai Lama said, just as ripples spread out when a single pebble dropped in the water, the actions of individuals can have far-reaching effects. Impossible Conversation is all about you, your journey and your story. Your story is so unique and so different and not worthy of a comparison. Today, my guest is Anne English. Anne helps people transform their vision into reality. She is an expert on visual merchandising. She's a mother of metronomes and the founder of Charlie's Chocolate Factory. She creates intrigue. Welcome, Anne.
Hi!
Hello!
Hello, Sukhee. Hello, everyone. Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you very much. Yes.
Good. So, could you please tell us about yourself? Who is Anne? Not to that extent I've introduced you. What makes you happy? What's your passion?
What makes me happy and my passion. I love that introduction with the pebble in the pond and the ripple effect. I think for me, the ripple, the pebble is all about ideas. That's what inspires me. If you think about it, everything that's ever been created started off as an idea. You starting off this podcast was just an idea in your imagination at some point until you made it a reality. Putting the man on the moon was an idea. I've got my little friend here to say hello. Hi. Making an idea. Everything starts with an idea, and that's what I feel like I'm fueled by. Imagination, ideas, and connecting with other people and hearing their stories, the way that they've kind of transformed their lives, things that have inspired them as well. So creativity is a big part of my life as well. Inspiration, being inspired by the world around us.
Okay, so would you describe as the area you are in? It's not really a storytelling, isn't it? Because you are more future-based, future-orientated, I mean.
Yeah, it's about visual communications, but everything has a story associated with it. It's the way that we've communicated from way back when. So if you think about, in the past, we've seen drones, cave drones. So that's the visual communications. But then also over the years, the storytelling that gets passed down through the generations, people that have kind of sat around campfires and passed on their wisdom through stories. The visual side's important, but the message that goes with that, the story that goes with that too, can be very powerful.
How so you ended up in this visual merchandising, marketing and ideas area? Would you call it the industry, or it's probably brand and marketing?
Yeah, I mean, is it an industry? It's some of it's what I've invented, what I've created. It's all, as I say, starts with an idea. When I went to art college and I studied visual communications and I specialised in graphic design. Before that, when I did A-levels, I did A-level art with art history, and I focused on sculpture. So I was kind of expressing stuff not just through kind of 2D art, but also physical forms. I did maths as well because I liked some of the logical stuff, which seems a bit crazy, the creative, but then kind of connecting the dots, seeing patterns, that kind of thing. And geography, maps, absolutely love maps. It's a way of kind of seeing the world and plotting the world. And if you think about it, everything that kind of starts off as an idea, if you want to build something, if you want to grow something, do something, it starts off often as a map. It may be, if you want to go and explore the world, you might look at a map or you might look at a globe. If you want to build a house, you would do, get architect's plans done. So that's something that's been kind of key to me is maps and plans. So it's the creative, the non-tangible stuff, the thing that's up here, but then it's kind of like the way that you visually represent that to communicate your message.
Excellent. So I believe that's not just started 25 years ago. You got that DNA.
Yes. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I was having a conversation with my mum just a couple of months back, because
Mm-hmm.
I've gone onto a path where I do visual marketing, but that the kind of foundations of that are based on merchandising. The
Mm-hmm.
first job that I had after I went to art college was I ended up designing the windows for the Body Shop. So that involved visual merchandising. It wasn't something that I'd necessarily been trained to do, but I used my intuition to know what looked right, what looked wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
started to kind of realize what the principles were, things like less is more, the rule of thirds, all that kind of thing. But I discovered my mum told me, has always told me this story. That's what I was saying, stuff that gets passed down the generations, about how she had a job when she was probably about 17, and it was in a ironmonger shop in Hexham. This was probably in the 1950s, and it was called Phipps, and apparently Phipps didn't sell it. It didn't exist, so they sold all sorts of things. And at the time, the one of the things was Pyrex. That was quite new. There was the Pyrex factory in Sunderland, which was a big glass area. My mum had done the window display, and apparently I asked her how she, had she been trained or whatever, but she said she just used her intuition, and imagination to create it. And what ended up happening was the Pyrex rep came in, asked who had designed the window,
Mm-hmm.
and then offered my mum a job at the head office in Sunderland. But she just met my dad, and so she refused the offer straight
Mm-hmm.
away. I didn't think about it. I just said no, because she said, I met your dad. And I do wonder if she kind of followed that dream, followed that passion, whether I would even I asked her to tell me that story again, because I'm busy at the moment doing some research for a book that I'm going to write on visual marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And she then said to us, but your grandma used to have a shop in Hexham, and your great grandma, she used to have a sweet shop, and they actually won a competition for the best window display, which kind of like...
How many years ago? Probably like at least 60, 70.
It could have been the 1940s, but yes,
Yeah,
a long
yeah.
time
Mm-hmm.
ago. But if you think about it, that was how businesses presented themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Before the days of the internet, the way they connected was through their windows. And apparently for this competition, my mum said that my grandma had gone out and she bought some black paint, and
Mm-hmm.
she painted the whole window with black paint, and she just left a little gap. And I was like, oh, so I was waiting for the big reveal, like Phoenix Window. What's the
Mm-hmm.
big reveal? And she went, well, she didn't do anything. She said, she had a queue down the street. And it
Uh-huh.
turned out she'd left this little hole. And she
Mm-hmm.
said everybody was like peeping through this hole. And there was a queue down the street. And in those days, you didn't vote with Facebook likes or the thumbs up.
Yeah.
It was footfall. And because
Uh-huh.
she had the biggest queue, everybody wanted to know what was in the window and look through it. She won the competition. And I said to my mum at that time, oh, I said, so my grandma created intrigue. And then it was just like, that's what I call my business, create intrigue. But I hadn't realized. So yeah, I do kind of think that this is probably in my DNA, and actually trusting my intuition.
Uh-huh.
I've always known when things look right and look wrong. When I teach people about visual marketing, I talk about the wonky picture on the wall. There's a picture behind us. Have you ever walked into a room and noticed that a picture on the wall is a bit wonky? And often people will see that picture on the wall. Some people won't notice it. Some people might notice it if it's pointed out, and other people will sit there and they'll go, I've just got to straighten that picture. It's doing my head in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I say about visual merchandise and visual marketing. You don't necessarily always know, unless you learn the techniques, why things don't look right. But I can teach people the techniques on that. I can give them, if you might be able to straighten it by eye, but if I give you a spirit level, so if I give you the tools and techniques, you can get that picture straight. And it's fascinating. I've always had this thing with I know when things look right I can move things around, and I know that whether it's to do with energy, harmony, I don't know, but I can position things and go, right, that's right now, that looks right. And that's kind of some of the techniques the big brands use to capture your attention. But it's just, for me, it's a feeling. And then now I've kind of taken all of that knowledge and applied it, and obviously done a lot of research and things. So, you know, I've got the 5-star principle, the rule of thirds, the secret sense strategy, because I know what works and what connects with people.
So, and how do you nurture your creativity? Just like you got this huge imagination, and
Yeah,
it's all about imagination, isn't it?
it is. And connecting with people.
Yeah, connecting with people.
Inspire me. Other people's stories inspires me. Yeah, you can't do this stuff in isolation. Sparking ideas, you can't do that in isolation. You need other people to reflect back at you and bounce ideas off each other. That's the way it works, really. That's the way you progress it. You might come up with a bright idea by yourself, but to carry it forward, you need the energy of other people. And what I often say to people is, you don't necessarily know your superpower, but other people will reflect it back at you if you listen. So I love, one of the things I say is the things that make you go, If you do something and then somebody goes, oh, that's amazing, that's brilliant, or how did you do that? And you just go, because you instinctively know how to do that. That's possibly your superpower. It's the things that other people don't know. And I will also say often that the things that make you go, will probably be followed by a light bulb moment. It could be in the middle of the night. It could be when you're walking on the beach. But all of a sudden you realize that, like, oh, actually, there's value in that. Or, you know, I've created intrigue with that kind of thing, that you've sparked something and other people have seen something in you that you don't always see in yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because people just don't do. People, it's hard to be in that self-aware, isn't it?
Yes. There's one thing that I often say to people is, you can't lick your own elbow. And now I said that, there's probably people sitting there trying to lick their elbow. But we all need other people. We need other people to reflect back at us,
to bounce off. Exactly.
Yeah. And there's probably quite a few people that, you know, maybe watching this, they've maybe met me through things like networking events. I go along to those because I need to be in the room with other people, to be inspired by them, to hear their stories, I love it when you get speakers and they'll tell you maybe their story, what it was that made them do what they were doing. Connecting with people, or watching things like TED Talks, or even watching on TV something like Graham Norton, where he's interviewing
oh my
people
God,
about
love him.
Yeah, I do too. I just find that inspiring to see how other people have tapped into their creativity and come up with their ideas. I believe that everybody is creative. I do sometimes have this argument with people where they go, oh, I'm not creative. What they may mean is that they can't draw a picture of, you know, an absolute likeness of somebody, but everybody's creative. It may be that you don't have the tools to express that creativity. So some people might express it through knitting or drawing or baking a cake, or, you know, but everybody's got ideas. Everything, as I say, starts off with an idea. Everybody is creative. Children especially, they just express that creativity constantly. But I think as people get older, they can lose that, can't they? And they can
it's probably all about self-limiting beliefs, and then they kind of all these external circumstances kind of stopping them to go beyond whatever they can imagine. And
we all do that.
Yeah.
We all, I mean, I'm pushing myself out the comfort zone at the moment, doing talks, you know, speaking to you. This is a big thing for me. This is kind of my first kind of video conference thing, because whilst I'm okay talking one-to-one, and people maybe think that, you know, I'm quite talkative.
Wow, very talkative.
Yeah. If I know about what I'm talking about, or I'm inspired, you know, that's great. But actually standing there in front of a big audience, that was never me. I loved to dance. I was a ballet dancer, did tap dancing.
Uh-huh.
You could get me on the stage to dance.
How
But
many years?
oh, from being 5, I just loved to dance. I would dance on the way home. I would do pirouettes down the street, thinking, oh, somebody famous is going to find me, and I'll be, taken away to the Royal Ballet. Actually, I remember having that conversation with my mum when I was on. She said, well, if you really want to be a ballet dancer, but then I thought, I don't want to move away from home. I didn't want it that much, but I knew I could still dance because I love music and I love that connection and that energy. Don't have to go to the Royal Ballet to be able to do that. So yeah, it's interesting where I could have been on the stage, but yeah, standing on the stage talking, nah, that wasn't me. I would never be an actress. But what I've realized now is that's why I've set up the Visual Marketing Academy, that I've got knowledge and wisdom and skills and know-how that I can help other people with.
Yes.
But the only way I can share that knowledge is actually by kind of standing there and informing people about this thing. Because if you don't know it, you don't know it. People don't understand the power of visual marketing. So unless I'm passionate about sharing that knowledge, and the way I've got to do it is stand on a stage, and do interviews and do workshops and talks. So yeah, for the company that I used to work for, I've done thousands of contract winning presentations, but I would always come up with the ideas and do the plans and then come up with the stories, but then I would give it to somebody else to actually stand up and present it. So yeah, this is me pushing myself out my comfort zone.
So maybe like next year or 2, you will be on a big stage.
Yeah, well, like I say, it's kind of baby steps, isn't it? You do it to 10 and then 20 and then 50 and then 200 and then 2,000 and then 2 million.
Exactly, that's how things work.
Yeah, have you got 2 million people tuned in tonight, do you think?
Who knows? If you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. So tell me about your journey in this creative industry, because you are mother of metronomes.
Yes, I am. For 25 years, I worked in the Christmas display industry. I joined a company.
Can I just ask you, why are you saying like Christmas display industry? Because that's quite seasonal thing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
If you describe it that way.
Yeah. So the reason why I describe it that way is because that's what the focus was. That was kind of, when you say niche, so it was for shopping centres and retail environments. But we did so if you imagine the Metro Centre, their Christmas decorations, or Eldon Square, and their Santa's grottos, that kind of thing, that's what we did. So when I joined the company, after I'd done the body shop windows, I stayed with that company for a year, and then I moved on to this other one, and there was the 2 directors, and then I was the next person to join. Metro Centre, it just opened, really. Hard to imagine a time before Metro Centre existed, but it was the biggest and one of the first shopping centres in Europe. It had malls in America, but it was a new thing in the UK. So the Christmas decorations, first of all, were imported from Germany, who had a big tradition with that, artificial Christmas trees. But as the years went on, we ended up having to refurbish them, relight them, redress them. And also the scale wasn't right. So it's a bit of that the magic thing. It looks huge until you put it into an environment like the Metro Centre, and then everything just shrinks.
Yeah,
so I went from being designer, studio manager, production manager, contracts manager, and then I'll be out on site installing it. I was managing about 60 shopping centres, every year. So that takes all year to do. My actual quiet
So basically you plan and start the design in January, and then once shopping centre time, and then like go around all, and then like probably installation process would start.
Start at the beginning of the year with the ideas. People would come back to me with plans of the shopping centres, in those days, photographs, the brief, all that kind of thing, the budgets. And then what I would do is I would come up with an idea. And what I used to do in those days was, it was like mind mapping. So I would put all of my ideas and all of the information down onto a big sheet of paper, bring it all together, and then look and connect dots and decide on, because you might think, oh, it's just lights and tinsel, but it was about increasing footfall. I mean, and then coming up with ideas for the grottos and storytelling. So create a mountain, but one year it would be Mice Mountain, another year it would be Sweetie Mountain. So you would end up coming up with these stories. Anyway, back to metronomes. So we used to do Noddy. Metro Centre used to pay for that IP, so for the property, the license for that.
Okay.
The Metro Centre at the time was Ron Woodman, and he came to us and he went, can you create me a character called the Metronome? Because I'm sick of paying extra license and money for Noddy and for Rupert, etc. Like, well, yeah, we can. And I'd actually been on an Imagineering course with kind of this little character across in Disney. So I don't know whether you've heard of the Imagineers. So the Imagineer bit is the creative people. The ear bit, it's not his ears, it's the engineers, you know, the people that can make it happen. And it's one of these things where I always say to people, if you ideas are killed off by the but, you know. So people will go, I'd love to do this, and then they'll go, but. And what they do is they squash their ideas, and Disney never did that. But when I work with people about, you know, and creating their vision trees and things, I'll always say to them, tell me the vision. If they then come up with the but, I always get them to focus back on the vision, because, well, I've just said the word because. If you change the but into a because, it becomes more empowering. So if you say, I'd love to do this because, that gives you a bit of fuel for why you can do it. And then the bit that normally follows the but is just roadblocks, things you've got to overcome. So with the metronomes, what we did was, as I say, I love maps. And I knew in the Metro Centre, you had a red car park, a green, a blue and a yellow one. Because it was the biggest shopping centre in Europe, because it was new, often people would get lost. Coming up with all these ideas, I was like, oh, actually, for the Metro Centre, why do we only have to have one metronome? If we had 4 characters that represented each of the malls, so you had the red mall and the blue mall, brainstormed some ideas out, got the studio together, and it was the case of, well, if it was, you know, the green mall, what could that represent? And that ended up becoming Forest Land. And, you know, who could live in Forest Land? What would his character be? And I'm all about the storytelling. So I used to write the metronome stories, and had a back history, like Mickey Mouse has got, you know, a whole world that he lives in with pals and all that kind of thing. So Herbert lived in Forest Land. So you've got Herbert, you've got Sherbet, you've got Maggot, and you've got Rusty. These are my babies, the metronomes. Yeah, they all lived in different lands, different parts of the shopping centre. I mean, I could tell you the full story of that, but yeah, that's how they're created. But this is to do with the imagination. It's to do with, you know, getting the stuff out of your head, mapping out your vision, which is really powerful, and then creating stories and characters around that to give it some depth. And it's about brand development, really. So yeah, with my friends.
So how do you? I got 2 friends here too, but I haven't created it. My kids love it.
Oh, they're gorgeous. Oh,
They just can't get enough of them. It's like a girl and a boy.
Yes.
And probably someone who's done the Imagineering course.
Yeah, I think they Stitch can be naughty at times as well, can't he?
Oh, usually. Yes, isn't he? Okay, so all these soft toys just makes me been in a like Santa Claus, doing lots of different Santa Claus like grottos, and then metronomes, and also there is a Charlie's Chocolate Factory. So how did it come?
I said I've had a really interesting career, so I've worked with the big 3. So that's Santa Claus, Willy Wonka and Mickey Mouse. So the Willy Wonka bit was, when it was my 40th birthday, I wanted a party that was kind of themed. I wanted a James Bond night, that kind of thing. And then I was looking for a bit unique, something a bit different. And I was on the internet Googling, and I found a chocolate fountain. And I'd never seen a chocolate fountain in my life, but as soon as I saw one, I thought, oh, gotta have one of these at my party. So I said to my husband, right, just get me a chocolate fountain, I need one. he had a look. He's an engineer, you know, I was saying about the imagination, the engineers, and
Yeah.
he went off and did his research, and he came back and he said, well, we can't just buy a little one because of the number of guests. We need bigger capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because he's an engineer, you know, he's like, you don't want to buy a cheap one because in the middle of, you know, the party it might break down. The best ones are Sephora. You import them from America. It's going to be big enough to serve everybody. So it was just one of those mad things. I remember doing what I would call a for and against list. You're trying to assess whether you should do something or not, and you write a for and against.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at that list and I thought, you know what? There's the for, and actually the against only questions. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, where would we get the chocolate from? Where would we? It was practical stuff. We ended up buying the chocolate fountain for the party. The first thought was then sell it on eBay or something like that. And it was, well, actually we could do a couple of events together. And we ended up founding Charlie's Chocolate Factory. So, you know, came up with the name and all that. Because I could do that because I developed the brands before, you know, I was creative.
Yeah.
It didn't really take much for me to set up a business.
Mm-hmm.
My husband would go out on a Friday and Saturday night to other people's parties, and we get paid for going, you know, out to do that.
Uh-huh.
And then during the week, I mean, we'd had our daughter Amber by then, so I was working 3 days a week, still managing contracts, Metro Centre, Blue Water, all of the shopping centres, you know, in UK and Europe. Still went out at weekends with the chocolate fountain, so that was a bit like our date night, you know, our night out, and it was just really good fun. And we actually did that for 10 years as well.
Are you still doing it?
No, things changed. So husband got made redundant, so he changed his jobs, he worked shifts. And I got made redundant too, so it didn't fit in with our lifestyle anymore.
Right.
So that was the reason that we stopped it. I love creating experiences. With the Santa's Grottos, it was about the display, but it was about the experience. So it started off with gnomes that just kind of did this. But after people had been to America and they'd, you know, seen animatronic characters and stuff, we would bring in more interactivity into the displays, them becoming more experiential. But with the chocolate fountain, it wasn't just a chocolate fountain. I realised that often we would be put in the dark corner. I created a fountain flame. I called it fountain flame, and it was a silk piece of material that had the colour behind it, so it would silhouette the chocolate fountain. And then it meant that when people walked in the room, because they would go, oh wow, what's that? It was about entertaining guests as well as feeding them. And it was about them dip their own chocolate into it, because as I say, it's about how you make people feel. It's about that experience.
Exactly. It's experience, and it's making memories. It's all about making memories.
Everything
and
would be about memories.
The most memorable moment would be how you felt, the best you felt.
I felt the best I felt.
Yeah.
Wow. As I say, working for Santa Claus was fantastic. I think probably the worst kind of flip for that was because the business was so successful. We were number one, you know, we were kind of world class. And then number two, who were in the Midlands, got money invested in them by an entrepreneur. They merged with us, but then what I kind of didn't see happening, because I was working on the contracts for Metro Centre, etc., for like the next 3 years, but they closed us down and made head office in the Midlands. So that was July 2013, and then by the Christmas, their whole business had collapsed, because it wasn't about the products, it wasn't about the contracts, it was actually about the people that designed it, the people that made it, the people that installed it. We were the ones that breathed life into it. And there's a lot of things I'm sure a lot of people do that's in the heads. You're trying to pass on that knowledge and stuff to buying products, and you're buying contracts, but the actual delivery of it, they couldn't do it. So yeah, so that's when I got made redundant, and then everything changed.
Do you ever regret that you got made redundant?
I did at the time. Now I don't. I've done a lot of work with Sarah Seed, who's a coach. I've actually done quite a bit of business development with coaches. One thing that she says is rejection is redirection.
Yep.
And I really kind of focus on that now. It was hard at the time because I had a job that I loved. And then it was like, it was interesting because I've been there for 25 years. So I started to look for my next forever job. That's what I thought I was going to do.
Yeah.
And in between, people that I'd worked with, people that I knew would say to me, can you help us? So, you know, somebody who worked at the pen shop, she said to us, can you do the window displays? Another one was Paul Windle Design, who's actually, John had worked on the Met Run project with us. Can you come and help us with business development? Another company, I helped them win £1 million worth of business. So I was doing projects, freelance projects, in between applying for jobs and going for interviews for my next forever job.
Yeah.
But I kept getting rejected. And I would get to the interview stage, I would get down to the last two, and then I would be told things like, well, you've never worked for a printers before, you've never worked for an architect. So of course I had skills that were transferable, but for whatever reason, they kept saying, well, you've never worked in this sector. And that was hard to hear. One interesting guy, there was a reason why he said I didn't get the job. He said, you were so close to getting the job. Only reason I haven't given you a job is because you've got wanderlust. Wanderlust? I was like, I hadn't even put the word. I was like, what's that? And I was really annoyed at the time. Because he said, you're not going to stay. And I said, of course I'll stay. I said, I stayed with my last company for 25 years. And in my mind, I thought I was going to stay. And he went, nah, you know, I just know you're not going to stay. And he, obviously, he saw something, you know, that things that make you go, and the light bulb.
Yeah.
He saw something in me. And I've been since told, because I never imagined I would be an entrepreneur. But I've been told I was actually an intrapreneur. And what I was doing was I was helping build other people's businesses up, working inside of them. But now I've got the opportunity to work for my own and help other people build their businesses up by that. So yeah, I had 2 years worth of applying for jobs and rejection from that. And it got the stage where I just, I can't do this anymore, because it was confidence. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to focus on my business, building what I was doing in between, but I wasn't focused on that.
Yeah.
I was focused on obviously helping the clients when I was working on the project. But my end goal was my next forever job. Thinking that would be working for somebody else, not working for myself. But then I started to focus on, actually, no, I can do this for myself. I don't need to. The bit that I was missing was the connection bit, I think, that was in centre design. I knew, because there was only the 2 directors and there was me. Everybody in, so I missed the connection with people. But I've gained that through things like networking. I met you through networking. There's probably, as I say, people watching this who you know, I've met through that. I found then that actually that I could have a tribe of people around me that were inspiring business people, but they weren't necessarily working with me.
Yeah. I exactly know what you mean. Because you know, I'm still at my job, and I didn't even know what's it like this entrepreneurs do. I know, like I like when see people, they say like, I have my own business, and okay, that was it. Okay, what you do? And then like, I don't know, some jewelry or photographer or some software development, and then okay, so like, and I never knew like how hard it is, and like how.
But you know what?
It's just so enjoyable experience, it seems like, because maybe because I don't have it, that's why how I feel it. Yeah.
But it's people following their passions, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also that idea thing, you know, I get inspired by ideas and helping people to transform their ideas into reality. We don't choose to change things normally if things are comfortable, you know. There's got to be a catalyst for change. For me, made redundant, and then the next one from that, which was the realization about, you know, focus on my own business and my skills and how I can help people, was that uncomfortable place of rejection, and that rejection being redirection when you kind of look at it from the opposite side of it, because that wasn't my path. And I truly believe now I am doing what I was born to do and meant to do. One of my favorite quotes is one by Mark Twain. And it's the two most important days in your life are the day that you were born and the day that you find out why. And I truly believe now I've found out my why. It's to pass on, you know, the knowledge, the skills that I've got with visual merchandise and, you know, through the Visual Marketing Academy. And then the other thing is I help people to transform their ideas into reality through a thing that I've created called vision mapping. And that's based on, it's a technique that I've used over the years. It's the way that I've solved problems, the way that I've been given a brief, I've been given information, I've then gone out and done my research, and I've always created, you know, a map of that, a mind map of that, jotting down all the things. And then when you put these things down there, I then start seeing patterns, I see connections, and then I find solutions. So when I was working with clients, I would always work that way. So if they said to us, can you create me an exhibition stand? Can you write the copy for my website? Can you come up with an interactive experience? Any of those things, I would say to them, okay, and I would interview them, you know, tell me about what's the vision, what's this, what's that? And I would map it out to come up with a solution. You know, when I say about the things that make you go, So when I was doing that, people I was working with was going, what's that? What's that you're doing there? Because I would go, oh, well, so if it's this and it's that, is it the other? And they'll go, yeah, that's what I mean. So it was a thing that I did. And then I started seeing people like were really interested in the way I was solving problems for them. And as I say, your superpower, if you've got a superpower, you probably don't realize you've got it. It'll be reflected back to you by the people that surround you, the people that you work with. So if you do something and other people go, wow, that's amazing, you know, and I was hearing this thing, but like going, well, it's just what I do. So now, you know, I've developed it, as I say, I've been doing it for at least 35 years anyway, into vision mapping. And there's two ways of doing that. So I create vision trees for people for if they want to grow their business. I've always planted ideas as the roots, as the seeds. Some people say, well, you know, ideas are up here, they're kind of like in the air, but for me, it's the foundation to everything. The ideas may get planted at the bottom, and some ideas will grow. Some of these kind of roots you'll follow down. You know, there might be a whole host of different things that you're thinking about that's in your brain, and people tell me, they just kind of go bleh, and tell me all these ideas, which is great. And then I start categorizing them and grouping them together and all that kind of thing. And then from that, what grows out of that, if they water it and they give it time and they do the research and stuff, from their ideas at the bottom, they grow their vision tree. And the top bit that ends up flourishing, this bit at the top of the tree, is their brand, their products, their services. It's the people that are on the team. It's the people who inspire them. It's tools, it's technologies, it's all that kind of thing. But the foundations, everything's rooted in the imagination and in the ideas and getting things, anything that you've got in your head, getting it onto paper. So it's interesting because I worked with Simon Bourne, and when he was still working, you might know of him, the hand-dye shoe company, but he was doing that part-time and still working for the sofa company. And by the end of the process, he was actually in the unit in the building that when I'd said to him, well, what would it look like? Where would you be? What would your premises look like? He told me in his mind what it would look like. And he was in that building. He was the first one to actually frame his map. And I'd never really thought about it before like that. But of course, it does belong on the wall because like he says, you know, it's a history of his company. That's what I'm saying. When people reflect back to you, I worked with Kate at the All-in-One company, and she says it represents the DNA of her business, and she used it to communicate to new members of staff, team members, you know, the thoughts, the ideas, what the business looked like. And then it was Michael Owen, who I've done some work with, you know, and I'm actually part of the Angelfish team as well, along with Paul. Yeah, Michael reflected back to me that kind of represents the journey that he's on. And actually, just to see his tree recently for Always Wear Red, he's gone and chopped down a lot of the branches because he's only doing jumpers now. But he says it's a bit like a visual business plan. You know, it belongs on the wall instead of in a desk. So listening to the impact that you make on other people and on their business, and then they reflect it back at you, so you can see the value that what you do in them. Yeah, it's fascinating.
It's a ripple effect you are creating.
It's definitely a ripple effect. So that thing that you started off with about that kind of the pebble in the pond thing, yeah, it just goes out, doesn't it? And then, I mean, if you look at raindrops in puddles, of course, there's lots of ripple effects.
Yes.
So we're all influencing each other, aren't we? We're all helping
everyone,
each other.
every single one of us.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It is.
So, let me ask you, where do you get your creativity? Do you go take cold shower, or do you sit down and meditate, or are you into walking?
Yeah, I think I get inspired by all sorts of different things. Just say people inspire me, people's stories. This little guy, of course, my friend Mickey Mouse, he inspires me. You know, recently I was back over in Walt Disney World, and just looking around there, I look at things a bit differently. I look at the experience, I look at the interactions, some of the immersive environments there now. They've built Star Wars Land, there's also Harry Potter World and stuff over at Universal. I look at it almost like behind the scenes. Behind the scenes quite often inspires me. It's the like, you're looking at how things have been created and what the vision was and the reasons behind it and all that kind of thing. I love TEDx talks to people and their ideas. Yeah, I can get inspired by all sorts of different things, you know. Ideas they just flow, don't they?
Yes, but everyone's different. We are all like completely different.
Yeah.
Because you do it for a living. And you are a very creative person, and I know you say everyone's creative. Yes, I am creative. You started explaining that. And
you create this.
Yeah, because do you need to be a people watcher, and then do you have to slow down to get everything into your mind?
Yeah, I mean, some of my friends, my family know.
Thinking, when you were like in Florida, were you just like kids and the husband were going having a fun, and you were just sitting there?
No, I mean,
or how do you? Because
you have to
honest, I have to like slow down and concentrate. Otherwise, it's just.
My phone is absolutely full of ideas and photographs and things. So yeah, visual imagery is important. As I say, my friends, some of my friends that know me very well, and the family will laugh because I often will have an afternoon nap, a little sleep, or some people meditate. I quite often go to a dark room and just have a sleep. And I think sometimes my brain, I feel like it's like full. It's just full of ideas, and sometimes the process and the downtime to just take all of that in. That's what I need to do sometimes.
What would your advice be? Have to capture them ideas, because ideas come and go, and sometimes it's just like psh. So
yeah, you've got to do it then and there.
You have to write it down.
Write it down, capture it somehow, write it on the back of your hand, take a photograph, notes. You know, iPhones are amazing things because, of course, with an iPhone, you've got a camera in your pocket, you've got a note taker, whether you want to use something like Siri and record a message, or whether you want to go into just notes and you know, pop something down on there, capture it when you're in the moment, because you will forget it later. You'll think, oh, what was that brilliant thing that I saw? And yeah, it's gone. Got ideas coming. That's the amazing thing about ideas. They're a bit like fireworks, aren't they? If you think about it. They explode like a firework, and they're really pretty. And they're like, wow, they're powerful, they're bright, and then they just go.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
My little character here. But
because like all these great ideas come and go. Okay, you captured one, right?
Yeah.
how do you validate that idea as a great one?
Okay, so doing research is really important. Talking to people about it, sometimes the reflection back at them, you don't get it or don't understand it. It's either that you're miscommunicating it or it's not, when I would say, like, landing right. It's just, it's not resonating with people. But for every, a million ideas that people have, there's, one of them might work. Like, one of the inspirations, a book that I love is that Think and Grow Rich. In that, the talk about where he interviewed, Napoleon Hill interviewed what I was called as like the biggest brains at the time, the most, creative minds. And a lot of them, they had a vision. I think vision's really important. You don't necessarily need to know how. You just need to know sometimes the why or the what. So like the Wright brothers, for example, of course, nobody had ever invented an aeroplane. They didn't know what that would look like. They just experimented and drew from nature and things and all that kind of thing. And until they actually flew and like invent the light bulb even, or invented the first motor car. I think they called it the horseless carriage, didn't they? Because they kind of thought it was, before that, the only point in time that you could relate to was that there was a carriage and it was pulled by horses. So what we want this carriage to move along without the horses. So ideas evolve, they gain movement, they gain traction. Sometimes they speed up, and sometimes, as I say, they fade and they die and they fizzle. The thing is, just let them flow, let them happen, because you don't know when that one bright one is really going to shine. And that's you can tell I get passionate about it and really excited about it, because it's just phenomenal what you can achieve with your imagination.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you think, like, let's talk about like Think and Grow Rich. What's the first chapter? Like, it's all about this.
I've got it here. I don't know whether you can see, I've got loads of tabs and stuff like that. You've got to have that burning desire. You've got to have that want, that need. You've got to have something that's going to drive you forward.
Show us your book. You studied
and then, of course, and then in the pages, I just scribbled. There's like things like that as I find things and relate this very much vision mapping. Because it's about getting the ideas out of your head and getting them down onto paper. So kind of the secret within this is about it is about the ideas, and if you can dream it, thoughts can become reality. You've just got to believe it.
That's
all that kind of thing.
That's
very,
exactly
very stuff.
But you need to say it.
Yes,
you need to see it, because everything's captured by imagination. And then you have to see it, and if you don't see it, you don't believe it. When you see it, you believe it, and you can work towards it, because we think by images.
Yes. And what I talk about is, what's my superpower now? It's visual communications. So with the Visual Marketing Academy, what I'm doing is I'm communicating your brands, your products, your services. So that's something tangible. So whether you don't have a physical shop window, you might have a digital shop window, or you might have a pop-up shop. You might do Living North if you're selling products. You might have a pop-up stand like Northeast Expo if you're a service-based business, but that's tangible. That's real 3D world stuff.
Exactly.
So that's visual marketing. But the other side of things I do is with the visual, the vision mapping, that's presenting the intangible. It's the thoughts, it's the ideas, it's your methods, it's your systems, it's the stuff that's in your head. And what I do is when I go through the process of that and people communicate that to me, and I'm kind of almost like coaching it out of them and listening, and then I'm jotting all of this information down like I've always done, but then I categorize it and I bring the ideas together, and then I sort it out and stuff, and then I present it back to people, join all of the dots, and then it either becomes a vision tree if you want to grow your business. But the other thing I do is, it's called signature systems. And that's how That's a process that you've got to solve problems, to take clients from pain to gain. So my signature system, and it always starts off as a vision map first. I mapped out all of my knowledge from visual marketing to create the Visual Merchandising Academy. Sorry, my visual merchandising, the other way around, to the Visual Marketing Academy. So it was things like the rule of thirds, like threes are powerful numbers in display and actually in storytelling. And I mapped out my knowledge.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? There's certain pieces that people need to know as the basics. I created the 5-star principles, the power of 3 process, the secret sense strategy. Now, all those things, if you're going to create anything, visually present it, you need to know those first. Then I've got the brand storytelling system, you know, how you tell your brand story.
Wow.
Then I've got the pop-up solution. So what I did was I took my knowledge and then I productized it, and then I presented it as like an infographic, as a visual image. Yeah. So it's getting that process, the thoughts out of your head, and then visually representing it, because like you say, if you make it into something tangible, it can then become a reality, can't it?
Exactly. And also that would help, like if I were doing something, that will help me to communicate to my customers even better, because customers will see that process in that map.
Yeah. And
because it's better for me explain everything from a scratch till end. Yeah.
And once you have a signature system, so I create people's own IP, that intellectual property. It's capturing the way that you work with clients, but then becomes, like it has done with mine, the one that I created for myself, and I've created them for other people now. It becomes the topics for your workshops. It becomes the chapters in your book. It becomes topics for talks. Everything that you do is centered around that. So for example, with Polly Brennan, some people might have come across her with the adventurous coaching. We've created for her, co-created, like working together and getting ideas out of her head as to the knowledge, everything that she kind of knows about helping people with their mental health and resilience, and that the mental fitness kit bag. So she could say, well, I've got tools and techniques and skills that I can help you with your mental health and your mental fitness. But now she's physically got a backpack, and we've created this graphic, and you know, she can talk to you about resetting your compass and all that kind of thing, because it's on her system. And I've worked with Gillian, Stress Express. So Gillian's got a system. It's powerful stuff. And it's productizing your service or your knowledge into something that then other people can understand.
And it will even give a confidence to the brand owner.
It's creating your own intellectual property.
Give you more clarity as well.
Definitely. That's what it's all about, clarity and focus, and then a direction moving forward. Because we can all get lost in our head, in our thoughts and ideas, can't we?
What's your proudest moment when you thought, do you know what? It's happening. I feel like I can make it happen. The impossible is becoming I am possible.
Wow. I don't know whether there was a day. I think it builds, probably a bit like a snowball. Starts off small, and then it starts rolling, and then it gains momentum and all that kind of thing, and it just gets bigger. So I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a point in time, a moment, but you just know that now there's this momentum. And for me, it's always what I would call light bulb moments. So I don't know whether you've seen my ideas hats. Have I shown you my ideas and my metal hats?
I've seen it on a photo. Yeah,
and that's kind of the thing that was just a thought about, you know, how I capture people's ideas, use my intuition, see inside of their heads. But it's when I see people and the phone us, or they might text us in the middle of the night, or phone us from the beach or whatever. But when they get that light bulb moment and they just go, oh, and the connect a dot, that to me is just like, wow. I've connected my dots now, and I know what I'm doing, how I can help people. And then to see other people all of a sudden got all these ideas, but then the known what that looks like. Because as I say, taking that and present it back to them visually, or helping them with their display and stuff, and then all of a sudden they go, oh, I've just realized if I do this and I do that, that's kind of the reward I get, is inspiring other people to turn their ideas into reality. Yeah, just the amazing thing about all of this.
Mm-hmm. That sounds amazing. That's like proper ripple effect.
Yes.
And then imagine their customers and
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Just
it's just like, yeah, it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the best present you can get from other people? Do you like chocolate? Or do you like books? So, because I actually, like, when I ask this kind of question, you would say, like, I love people's stories. I love
cup of tea. I love a cup of tea. You know, if I go to your house or something, if I come in the door and you say it was, would you like a cup of tea? Now, I drink my tea. Pathetic. Tea bag in and out, lots of milk. It looks pathetic. I love a cup of tea. A good cup of tea and a chat with somebody is brilliant. Yeah.
Amazing. Right. Thanks so much, Anne. Yeah. It is absolute pleasure.
We'll have a cup of tea, shall we? We'll just cheers.
Yeah. I'm not a tea person. I got some water.
Yeah, right, Sukhee water.
Yeah. But I have them too with me here.
Yeah, my little friends too, my little pals. Sometimes the world's just too serious, isn't it?
I know. So
yeah, sometimes the world gets all too serious, and we should all just have a bit.
We'll take a photo. We'll take a photo, like, from a video, and then that'll represent us. Where is the little ear, big ears? Yeah. Yeah, so thanks very much, and I absolutely loved your story, and please continue doing what you're doing and helping others and make their visions into reality.
Yeah. I'm not going to stop. Try and stop us, Sukhee. It's not going to happen.
I know.
All right. Lovely talking to you.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.